Shalom, 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 shalom. Let me check my volume here. All right, it's all right. Hey, shalom, shalom. This is Naaman with the Great Millstone Camp here in DC. Back for another video. But first and foremost, Kahalo Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakahakwadash, and of course, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. I'd like to send out salutations. All right, to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways. All right, pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth. And to the few Aquas that are just happen to be out there watching, all right, and learning. We do this, of course, aided by the many, many videos that are uploaded and that go out that help push the truth across the four corners of the earth. All right, and this is all done and waking up the remaining, hopefully, elect of our people. All right, so let's get the copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing, but nonprofit, educational, personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. So, for the purposes of this video, we're going to be talking about the end of an empire, the end of a most wicked empire. These things, however proud a people might be, these things you can't get around. All right. There's that time limit that all kingdoms have. All right. The gentleman's name I forget. Who? Man, I was just looking at that a few months ago. About the 250-year time limit, and this is the year. This is the 250th year. It'll be July the 4th. All right. That this place was officially became a country. What is that sound? Anyway, I hope you can still hear me. Anyway, so yeah, 1776 to 2026, 250 years. But all these signs that you see now, all the uproars of the people, the diverse earthquakes, all of this, none of this has happened before. The technology that we have now, the ever encroaching MOTB, that's, you know how you see those shows where they're, the cops and they got they're at the door and they got the battering ram and they're about to give the word to knock down the door. That's what we're up against now. All right, right at the door. It can happen any moment. We're in the midst of a government shutdown as I speak. So who knows what this guy sitting in the Oval Office is going to do. He might try to top the last one that happened, which was, they say, was the longest in history. So he might want to outdo that. Who knows? It's getting very close to the warmer months coming up. We're already in mid-February, actually just past mid-February. All right, so wow. All right, so let's go. This is with Chris Hedges YouTube channel, and it's called The Grand Illusion. You people, you copper tops, as the elder apostle, I believe it was he who coined that phrase. You're so used to, well, let me say this. You were used to just, going about your daily business with your job, because that's all you were conditioned to think about, and you did everything you could, focused on that home with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and everything that comes with that. But my goodness, it's like That's gone. And that ain't ever coming back. And a lot of people, I've been watching these polls, a lot of people are just disillusioned, but you did this to yourself. His video says grand illusion. All right. And I'm willing to bet the majority of you, and I'm talking about you Edomites out there, you self-professed white people, so-called, voted this way because you thought it was going to hurt us the most. And lo and behold, what are we seeing? Yeah, how about that? It's like, who was, damn, he was in the Matrix. Dr. Cornel West used to coin the phrase. He said, "You've been niggerized." All right. And he's right. You don't like it too much. We can see it in your faces every day, walking up and down the street. Damn niggers. Yeah. Another thing that's got your panties in a twist is that we're not out here like we normally are or were with these protest shit. All right. Oh, they really hot about that. But in any case, I mean, quit babbling on. The scriptures. This is all prophecy happening right in front of your face. All right. And it's beautiful to see. Beautiful to see. I'm going to start off with Sirach 25:7. I'm going to start off with this. I usually end with it, but this is Sirach 25:7. And it says, "There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children." You got to consider where we are and when we are. And he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And that, of course, is what we're seeing now. All right, this place is falling the fuck apart. All right, there is no healing of that bruise, as it says in Jeremiah. All right, say we would have healed Babylon, but no, this place is slated for destruction, and destruction is what it's going to be. Let me get that real quick since I referenced it. Is it 51? Yeah, the utter destruction of Babylon. This is Babylon. Start at 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul." It's not necessarily talking about physically. All right, get out of these strange customs. All right, get yourself right. Repent. That's more in line with what it's talking about here. All right, be not cut off in her iniquity, sin upon sin. For this is the time of the Most High Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense for all the things America has done, especially to the apple of his eye, the Israelites, our people. They thought they were going to just ride off into the sunset like you see on those westerns. No, that ain't happening. Verse 7, "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken." Democracy. Everybody wanted democracy. Yeah, we want to be like those Americans. Except the blacks, of course. But, yeah. The nations have drunken of her wine, her philosophies and doctrines, democracy. Therefore, the nations are mad. They see how wicked this shit is now. Babylon has suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. And in Revelation 18, they actually are going to howl and weep. All right. Standing afar off, as it says. All right. 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Just remember those scriptures I just read. I might readdress them as you're watching this. All right. And just remember all this bullshit we learned in school, especially my generation. You know, uh, it's just propaganda. They made themselves seem so righteous. And that's why they're reacting to all this true history that's come out last, let's just say 20 years, actually longer, but I'm just using that as a nice round number. And now they're ashamed of it. Here we go.
Grand illusion. We are cursed by what the historian Barbara Tuchman calls the bellicose frivolity of senile empires. Written by Chris Hedges for the Chris Hedges Report, chrishedges.substack.com. Read by Eunice Wong. We live in a world in which you can talk all you want about international niceties and everything else. But we live in a world, in the real world, Jake, that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power. These are the iron laws of the world that have existed since the beginning of time. Stephen Miller to Jake Tapper on CNN, January 5th, 2026.
And I was just sitting here just listening to her just now and looking at this asshole on the screen, Stephen Miller. And I'm reminded of Esther and the story of Haman. And this guy just exemplifies that. And it's reincarnated in the flesh. This guy here, for some reason, just reminds me of Haman.
He who would live must fight. He who does not wish to fight in this world, where permanent struggle is the law of life, has not the right to exist. Such a saying may sound hard, but after all, that's how it is. Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. The fascist state expresses the will to exercise power and to command. Here, the Roman tradition is embodied in a conception of strength. Imperial power, as understood by the fascist doctrine, is not only territorial or military or commercial, it is also spiritual and ethical. Fascism sees in the imperialistic spirit, i.e., the tendency of nations to expand, a manifestation of their vitality. Benito Mussolini in the doctrine of fascism.
Now, if someone had told me I could be as energetic at 42 as I was when I was 20, I would have never believed them.
All empires, when they're dying, worship the idol of war. War will save the empire. War will resurrect past glory. War will teach an unruly world to obey. But those who bow down before the idol of war, blinded by hypermasculinity and hubris, are unaware that while idols begin by calling for the sacrifice of others, they end by demanding self-sacrifice. Ekpyrosis, the inevitable conflagration that destroys the world, according to the ancient Stoics, is part of the cyclical nature of time. There's no escape. Fortuna.
Cyclical nature.
There is a time for collective death. In the end, with weary citizens yearning for extinction, empires light their own funeral pyre.
Mm-hmm.
Our high priests of war, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Remember, she said hubris, that pride, and there's none more proud than these Edomites. And let's reference real quick. Got to go to Wisdom of Solomon on this one. All right. 2. I'll do 1 and I'll skip down. It says, for the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy, neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. All right. And they're wrong about that. But the reason I read that is, these self-professed white people, they like to claim the history of others for themselves. And supposedly one of the sayings of the Vikings were like, you want to live forever? Or, it's like they actually live day to day. This is Wisdom of Solomon, Solomon 2 and 10 says, let me go up a little bit. For our time, verse 5, is a very shadow that passes away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Who you think the creatures are? Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. I cannot, despite all the propaganda I was taught coming up about these other forms of government, but you have to consider what our people went through, and that was under capitalism. All right. We are the ultimate victims of that. You know, that, what was his name? Alex Smith. Anyway, let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. All right. Again, that mindset. Get it now. You know, and that's of course what did Esau ultimately. All right. He had no integrity. He could not wait. All right. He sold his birthright. Now, that's again something that they're trying to get back, and it's not going to happen. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this. As he lost that birthright, right? And I'm not going to call it sad because to me it's not. But the thing he fails, it seems he fails to realize is, okay, you sold your birthright, but in the meantime, look at all the times that you've been in rulership. What have you done? This was a test that you failed and failed miserably. You've been in power, all right? You you had the opportunity. If it was within you to do good, you would have done it. And I'm sure at some level they realize this, the elites. You know, I'm thinking as I'm saying this, Ezekiel's 28th chapter. All right. You're going to be reminded that you are not a God, that you are simply a man. All right. And that's coming very quickly. Verse 10, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice. And this is what they're about. All right. And this is what they're going to return to. This was the gift. All right. The blessing in Genesis 27, verses 38 through 41. And then again, it reminds you in, hold on. Let's get that real quick. In Revelation 6, all right, about verse 4 here, the seven seals, and it tells you, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. What have these people ever done? When you look at their history, just look at America. And it's now 250th year. All right. How much of it has been peaceful? I think it's still less than 30 years. Think about that. Wars and proxy wars that they were involved in. Again, verse 4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. That's all he's ever done. All in everybody's business. All right, Habakkuk 2nd chapter. All right. And that they should kill one another. He's behind all this shit. The stuff that was going on just lately, the stuff that was going on over there in Iran, stirring up strife. All right. And, you know, those people over there constantly. All these countries, especially Latin America over here on the Western Hemisphere. But he's all over. That's what he does. All right. And there was given unto him a great sword. All right. Of course, it's parabolic speak, but yeah, this is what he's done. And it amazes me, like, but we understand that, a lot of, especially Jake, it's amazing that those that are not Jakes, and again, that's prophecy also, that's scriptural, can see things, because you got to understand that curse that was put on our people for what they've done. And it's sad to see, but we understand, because it's these same spirits coming back. Because let me tell you something, Matthew 27 chapter and the shorter version in Acts 3 and 13 of that, when Yahushua was given over to Pilate, Pontius Pilate, and what he had to go through with his own people doing that to him, and they chose a scumbag over him. All right. And it's like, wow. But then they had the nerve to say, let his blood be on our children and our children's children. What do you think? What do you think happened? All right. But a few of our people are slowly waking up. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, hey, 2/3 of our people, and that's a large sum of people, have to die. All right. Back to the video.
Chairman General Dan Raisin Kane are no different from the fools and charlatans who snuffed out empires of the past. The haughty leaders of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the militarists in Imperial Germany, and the hapless court of Tsarist Russia in World War I. They were followed by the fascists in Italy under Benito Mussolini, Germany.
And just by chance, who was behind all that? Well, she's at this time period that she's talking about now, from the turn of the last century on up to World War II. That was that was the issues, the JOOs. They were behind all that. You got to understand, they planned for 3 world wars. All right. So at the end, everybody would be crushed, and then and this is directly from them, they would rule. And I'm talking about the issues. This has been their plot for so long. See, these people like this thinking long term. And they were able, what used to be secret societies, all right, working behind the curtain, so to speak, able to achieve this. But again, with the light being shined on them, they're being forced to hurry things up. All right.
Under Adolf Hitler, and the military rulers of Imperial Japan in World War II. These political entities committed collective suicide. They drank the same fatal elixir Miller and those in the Trump White House imbibe. They too tried to use industrial violence to reshape the universe. They too considered themselves to be omnipotent. They too saw themselves in the face of the idol of war. They too demanded to be obeyed and worshipped. Destruction to them is creation. Dissent is sedition. The world is one-dimensional. The strong versus the weak. Only our nation is great. Other nations, even allies, are dismissed with contempt. These architects of imperial folly are buffoons and killer clowns. They are ridiculed and hated by those rooted in a reality-based world. They're followed slavishly by the desperate and the disenfranchised. The simplicity of the message is its appeal. A magic incantation will bring back the lost world, the golden age, however mythic.
All those witchcrafts.
Reality is viewed exclusively through the lens of ultranationalism. The flip side of ultranationalism is racism.
Yep.
The nationalist is, by definition, an ignoramus, wrote Yugoslav-Serbian novelist Danilo Kiš. Nationalism is the line of least resistance, the easy way. The nationalist is untroubled. He knows, or thinks he knows, what his values are. His, that's to say, national. That's to say the values of the nation he belongs to, ethical and political. He is not interested in others. They are no concern of his. Hell, it's other people, other nations, other tribes. They don't even need investigating. The nationalist sees other people in his own image, as nationalists. These stunted human beings are unable to read others. They threaten. They terrorize. They kill.
Scared little boys and girls. Salakia, I seem to be. I lost the signal temporarily. Salakia, hold on.
Is far beyond their tiny imaginations. They lack the intelligence, emotional and intellectual, to cope with the complex, ever-shifting sands of old and new alliances. They cannot see themselves as the world sees them. Diplomacy is often a dark and deceptive art. It is, by its nature, manipulative. But it requires an understanding of other cultures and traditions. It requires getting inside the heads of adversaries and allies. For Trump and his minions, this is an impossibility.
Imagine walking miles under the scorching sun only to fill your child's cup with contaminated water.
Skillful diplomats, such as Prince Clemens von Metternich, the Austrian Empire's foreign minister who dominated European politics after the defeat of Napoleon, do so by crafting agreements and treaties such as the Concert of Europe and the Congress of Vienna. Metternich, no friend of liberalism, adroitly kept Europe stable until the revolutions of 1848. I reported on Richard Holbrooke, the Assistant Secretary of State, as he negotiated an end to the war in Bosnia. He was bombastic and enthralled with his own celebrity. But he played the Balkan warlords off each other in the former Yugoslavia until they acquiesced to stop the fighting, with some help from NATO warplanes that pounded Serb positions on the hills around Sarajevo, and signed the Dayton Peace Accords. Holbrooke had little regard for the diplomats who diddled in conference halls in Geneva, while 100,000 people died or disappeared in Bosnia, an estimated 900,000 became refugees, and 1.3 million were internally displaced. He had a loathing for military commanders who refused to take risks. He detested the Croatian, Serbian, and Muslim leaders he had to corral into signing the peace accord. Holbrooke, whose blustering style and volcanic eruptions were legendary, left bruised egos and slightly embittered colleagues in his wake. But he knew how to cajole and mold his adversaries to his will. He was likened, in a not very flattering comparison, to Jules Cardinal Mazarin, the crafty 17th century prelate and statesman who solidified France's supremacy among the European powers. He flatters, he lies, he humiliates. He is a sort of brutal and schizophrenic Mazarin, a French diplomat told Le Figaro of Holbrooke during the Dayton talks. True. But Holbrooke, however mercurial, understood the interplay between force and diplomacy. This understanding is essential. It's why nations have diplomats. It's why great diplomats are as important as great generals. Gangster states have no need of diplomacy. Trump and Rubio, for this reason, have gutted the State Department, along with other forms of soft power that achieve influence without resorting to force, including the U.S. role in the United Nations, the U.S. Agency of International Development, the U.S. Institute for Peace, renamed Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace after most of the board and staff were fired, and Voice of America. Diplomats and gangster states are reduced to the role of errand boys. Hitler's foreign minister, Joachim von Ribbentrop, whose primary experience in foreign affairs before 1933 was selling fake German champagne in Britain, appointed party hacks from the SA or Brown Shirts, the paramilitary wing of the party, to
Yeah. Like I said, growing up, all this propagandist bullshit, how they were supposed to be, America, that is, supposed to be so different. And now look at it, it's devolving into the same thing that we're talking about here, these different so-called wicked, evil empires that they always spoke against. But let's be real, it was always that. And like I said, the grand delusion. That's the title of the video here. That's what this is. It's always been an illusion. All right.
diplomatic posts abroad. Benito Mussolini's foreign minister was his son-in-law, Galeazzo Ciano. Mussolini, who believed that war is to man what maternity is to woman, later executed Ciano for disloyalty. Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Stephen Charles Witkoff, is a real estate developer, often accompanied on diplomatic missions by Trump's feckless son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The Italian philosopher Benedetto Croce quipped that fascism had created a fourth form of government.
Kushner, J-O-O, by the way.
A government by braying asses, to add to Aristotle's traditional triumvirate of tyranny, oligarchy, and democracy. Our ruling class, Democrats and Republicans, piece by piece, dismantled democracy. In Germany and Italy, the constitutional state as well, collapsed long before the arrival of fascism. Trump, who is the symptom, not the disease, inherited the corpse. He's making good use of it. I believe that to maintain our empire abroad requires resources and commitments that will inevitably undercut our domestic democracy, and in the end produce a military dictatorship, or its civilian equivalent. Chalmers Johnson wrote 2 decades ago in his book, Nemesis, The Last Days of the American Republic. He warned, the founders of our nation understood this well and tried to create a form of government, a republic, that would prevent this from occurring. But the combination of huge standing armies...
But again, these were men. The founding fathers. I mean, they say this with such reverence, as if they were divine. No. No. Hell no. All right. And again, everything's being exposed. All right. And this is that year, as it was deemed by the elder apostle Tahar. I don't know. 2026. Everybody's seeing through their bullshit because, you know, they were so sneaky, yeah, I got the scripture in my head, but it's a word that I'm looking for and failed to bring it up by now. But deceit. All right. But again, people are seeing. All right, and then we're talking about their allies, of course. And this is coming to the point where, hey, Revelation 17, ultimately, verse 16. Because everybody's like, you know what? And of course, with the inhabitants of the Holy Land over there, you know, scripture, Jeremiah 49:20 about the least of the flock. I believe it's verse 48 too. chapter 48 too. It says it's in two chapters. Is it 49 or 50 or 48 and 49? That the least of the flock would draw them out. All right. So, yeah, and that's what's happening. Remember, prophecy must be fulfilled.
These almost continuous wars, military Keynesianism, and ruinous military expenses have destroyed our republican structure in favor of an imperial presidency. We are on the cusp of losing our democracy for the sake of keeping our empire. Once a nation is started down that path, the dynamics that apply to all empires come into play. Isolation, overstretch, the uniting of forces opposed to imperialism, and bankruptcy. Nemesis.
See, the thing is, in George Washington's farewell address, he made a point in talking about how how America should not favor one nation, all right, over another, all right, as what we're doing with, guess what, the state of Israel, all right, and just as I stated, this is, all right, they basically just taken over, without a shot fired. Well, unless you count the USS Liberty. But I mean, in fighting the wars, you want to look at it that way, all right, which was, because they look at, of course, everyone else is Goyim. Here it is, they've stolen everything. And, you're talking about blasphemy? Oh, my goodness. But yeah, and these stupid white nationalist Christians. And again, it's funny to me because these things that you used against us, guess what? Guess what's being used against you? Because those people over there that you get on your knees for over in the state of Israel, they despise you. They really do. And it's coming out more and more about how they treat you when you go over there. All right.
Stalks our life as a free nation. The American empire, defeated in Iraq and Afghanistan, as it was at the Bay of Pigs and in Vietnam, learns nothing. It leaps into each new military fiasco as if the previous military fiascos didn't happen. It believes it needs no allies. It will rule the world.
At the behest of who? Who's having them do this? This is what, well, I gotta roll that back. Hold on. There are those that amongst the nation of Edom here in America that can see what's going on. Unfortunately for them, they're not in power. They really can't affect anything. And that's why this is so beautiful, because you're seeing the train wreck coming and you're like, oh, these people can't do anything about it. Oh, man. Beautiful.
If occupying Greenland blows up NATO, so what? If funding and arming Israel to carry out genocide and bombing Iran and Yemen alienates huge swaths of the global south and enrages the Muslim world, who cares? If invading and kidnapping the president of Venezuela stinks of Yankee imperialism, tough. No one else matters. Nations that stomp around the globe like King Kong infect themselves with a fatal virus. Johnson warned that if we continue to cling to our empire, as the Roman Republic did, we will lose our democracy and grimly await the eventual blowback that imperialism generates.
Oh, it's inevitable. It's going to happen regardless of what you do.
And with it, the collapse of the crumbling edifice of the American empire. It's an old story, although to us and the cabal of misfits ensconced in our version of Ubuwa's court, it will come as a terrible shock.
Uh-oh.
That was Grand Illusion, written by Chris Hedges, read by Eunice Wong. For the Chris Hedges Report, chrishedges.substack.
Salakia, while it searches for the signal again. Just got a week. Yep. Oh boy. Salakia, Salakia.
President Trump cut taxes on Social Security. He kept his promise to America's seniors. Now 35.
Grand illusion. We are cursed by what the historian Barbara Tuchman calls the bellicose frivolity of senile empires. For the Chris Hedges Report, chrishedges.substack.com.
So, Salakia, for that, I had to refresh the whole page and it went back to 0 after it started back up. So, yeah, this is it. It says, how many ways can you say this place is finished? And I just happened to pull this up, saying finished in many languages. It's over. Yeah, Chinese, Japanese, even Russian, all that other stuff. Hey, finito in Italian, it's over. It is over. And again, this is that light at the end of the tunnel that, as it says, the faith and patience of the saints, Revelation 13 and 10, hey, these people got to go, they're going to inherit that cup that we had to bear. All right. Which was what? Slavery and everything that came with it. All right. So, Lamentations 4 and the last 2 verses there. All right. So it's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. All right. But we're seeing this place, and it's going to be hard days ahead, but it's worth it. These people got to go. You're seeing the condition of the earth. They fancy themselves as the high IQers. But look, under your stewardship, look at the condition of the planet. Goes back to what I was saying earlier. You sold your birthright, but with that blessing that you have, what you took everything. You still couldn't do right with the power that you took. So what does that say? That just validates what happened. Why everything was given to Jacob. All right. So hey, with that, once again, I hope whoever views this has been edified. And that's what we do. Once again, here at Great Millstone, filter everything through the scriptures. All right. And surely, after all this, you are aware of just how little time you have. All right. But in any case, I like to remind you all to keep your eyes and ears open. You never know what these evil mites are going to do. And, well, until the next video, shalom.